Hello friends, and welcome to the Montessori Mission. This is a unique podcast series asking the same 10 questions to 10 Montessorians from 10 communities who can offer us 10 perspectives of Montessori around the world. And today I have with me Nusaibah from Rumi Montessori in Malaysia, who has agreed so kindly to join me today. And I'd just like to say a few words to introduce Nusaibah, and she is such a stalwart in the Montessori community and is so widely known. So I've got lots and lots of bullet points on all the things that she's done, but I know that there's many more. So forgive me if I miss anything out. So I think,
no worries.
Firstly, for those of you who aren't familiar with Rumi Montessori seeks to be pioneers in Islamic education in Malaysia, and Nusaibah is principal of Rumi Montessori, and she has a CASA classroom 3 to 6 and the elementary classroom as well there, 6 to 12-year-olds. She is a Montessori teacher, trainer and consultant. She is the founder of the first Islamic Montessori magazine. She has a 17-year-old son, Noah, who is a Montessori child from birth and is now, age 17, homeschooling himself, which is absolutely extraordinary. And it's been so interesting going onto your feed and reading and listening and seeing videos of Noah and his journey. So I really recommend, if you go to Nusaibah's Instagram handle is Rumi_Montessori. And coincidentally, Nusaibah is also a friend of the principal of Moquino here in Dubai, and that's the school that my children, Olivia and Harry, go to. So it's a really, really small world. There's loads of lovely things to find there. And I'm so thrilled that you've joined me today. Thank you so much, Nusaibah.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, are you ready for the 10 questions?
Yes, sure.
Wonderful.
I'm ready. Yes.
Okay. So, let's begin. And from our first conversation, I didn't know that you were a Montessori child from birth. And so I think this is, this perspective of a Montessori child from birth is going to, and then your whole life's work being involved in that, I think is going to be so fascinating for our audience to hear. So question one of the Montessori Mission to Nusaibah of Rumi Montessori is, what does Montessori mean to you?
So this is an answer that evolves over time. And I think that in every stage of my life, Montessori has meant something different, and it's still evolving and growing. But, you know, what's really coming to me during this particular time period is that, you know, what Montessori means to me is that it's about finding your unique purpose in this cosmos for everybody, whether it's for the child or whether it's for you as a Montessori guide or whether it's for a teacher, a parent, whatever it may be. That Montessori is really about you discovering your place in the cosmos and in this universe. What is your place and what is your purpose and what are you going to do? So the whole continuum of Montessori, you know, you have the stages of development from, you know, 0 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, 18 to 24. And, you know, some people do say that had Montessori had more time, she would have even done the stages of adulthood. You know, so it's in her chart where she's got it kind of like segmented when it comes to after the age of 24. But, you know, in each one of those stages of development, the child is seeking to create their character and their personality and discover their place in this universe. And so what really comes to me all the time is that this Montessori is this journey of self-discovery. You're discovering yourself, discovering your universe, discovering your purpose, and realizing who you are and what you are here for. And for every person, it's unique. You know, it's a unique journey, and we have a unique, everyone comes with their unique perspective and gift, and you need to discover that, and that discovery starts from birth. So Montessori is like that journey, you know, aiding that journey so that each individual can find out who they truly are and become their true authentic self.
Wow.
So that's the one that's really sitting with me right now. as I go deeper and deeper, that's really sitting, because it's not just the child that's transformed by Montessori, but we adults are also transformed by Montessori. You know, whether you're a formally trained Montessori guide, or whether you're a parent who's just finding out about Montessori, or, you know, even if you don't have your own children, yeah, even grandparents, when they get to learn about the Montessori philosophy and theory, you become transformed and you become a better version of yourself. So it shows you that this journey of self-discovery is applicable to the child, it's applicable to the adult, it's applicable across board. And I think that's what Montessori really brings to our lives. And that's what it means for me right now, where we stand.
Wow. That is huge. Talk about starting with a bang. That is
so,
that really is.
Sorry if it is too deep, but it really is really coming from me right now. That's how I'm seeing it. So
it's not too deep at all. And just before, the audience wouldn't have seen this, but just before we began, we had a meditation, and that was about the universe, the meditation, and finding and these are the meditations I write for children about each child finding the universe within them. And then you to give that answer is really amazing. Again, it's finding our place in time. And I completely agree about even non-Montessorians, Montessori transforming them, because my sister doesn't have any children, but when she spends time with Olivia and Harry and she sees the responses are different, and one of the children would do something, she was like, well, what aren't you going to say? Aren't you going to stop them? What are you going to say? You know, they shouldn't have done that. And then she sees me respond in a Montessori way, and she's like, wow, I'm learning so much about connection and what discipline really is, and just there's so many opportunities. And she said when the UK was in lockdown last November, she came and stayed with us here in Dubai for a month. She said, wow, in that month, just to see something so different from our childhood as well. So I completely agree. I can see that anyone involved in Montessori, it becomes part of the fabric of who they are.
Yeah, and you transform. So you get however you touch this Montessori world, it transforms you in some way or another. And that's the beautiful thing. And having a 17-year-old, seeing him from birth all the way, you know, even now he's 17, he's in that third plane of development. He's not done yet with his discovery, but seeing how that journey is so evident, that it's not necessarily a journey of academics or a journey of learning, but it's a journey of discovering who you are in this universe, in this cosmos. It's very beautiful to watch and very beautiful to be part of that, your own journey and the journey of others around you.
Yeah. Incredible. Wow. So powerful. Thank you. So question 2 is going to be a really interesting one, because you were Montessorian from birth. When we discussed this one in our pre-interview, this is going to be, a different perspective. So question 2 is, what was your first light bulb moment on your Montessori journey? So the moment you were born, what was your first light bulb moment?
So this one is really interesting, because I went to Montessori when I was younger. So the early part of my schooling was in a Montessori school. And at that time, I remember when I was in the school, just really feeling that kind of harmony and tranquility, and not feeling like there's anything against me, or, you know, not feeling that pressure or that force or that something pushing me off myself. So, you know, we all, you know, in Montessori, we believe the child is guided from within. They have that inner teacher that's guiding them. So I was very much in touch with my inner teacher. But once I unfortunately had to leave the Montessori setting later on in primary years, elementary years, and so on, when I went into a mainstream setting, even though my parents, you know, tried to choose a really good private mainstream school and so on, that experience was so evident to me as a child, that this is not who I am, and this is not what I'm doing. This is not what I know or don't know. And I remember as a child coming out from that Montessori environment and going into a mainstream environment and thinking, what on the earth are these people doing? You know, what is the point of this? And how come they don't know who I am? And it's the child feeling misunderstood, and the child feeling that what they're doing is not recognized, as in who they are and how they learn and how they're exploring, and when they're interested in something, and that's not seen. And I remember thinking, you know, oh my God, you know, who are you? Looking at the teachers, you know, what do you want of me? You know, so that had already that experience from transitioning from Montessori to mainstream had already brought up something inside me. So I carried that throughout all of the rest of my schooling years. I carried that. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, some people, they hear that story and they say, oh, that means I must never put my child in mainstream school after Montessori. Or some people will even take it to the extreme and say, oh, I don't want my child to go through that, so I won't put them in Montessori from the start, because then they'll never be able to continue. So I'm not saying it's a negative experience. In fact, that experience has been so powerful for me, because it's helped me to create who I am now. Do you understand? It's helped me to have that awareness of education, of people, of supporting development, whereas I might have not had that had I not had that experience. But it raised this awareness in me about, hang on a minute, what is this purpose of being a child? I mean, I was a child and I was thinking, why am I a child? What are we supposed to be doing as children, you know? And why do these adults just not get us? You know, why do they not understand us? Why do they have to make us do something or make us be in some way? And that kind of like questioning was with me, and it was really strong. And when I came to my adolescent stage, it was really, really strong, especially when it came to the age of 16, 17. It was a really strong force inside me saying that this cannot be right. You know, this way of education, this way of talking to children, this way, it's not fruitful. It's not letting people discover who they are, but it's breaking people or shaping people into a mold. So that was really strong. And in the adolescent stage, we know that the Montessori tells us that the adolescence they're searching for their identity, and they have this really strong sensitivity to justice and to social systems and so on. So of course I was going through that as a teenager. I wasn't in a Montessori setting. I didn't have a Montessori home. My parents did put me in a Montessori school, but they were not Montessori at home. So I didn't have that at home, which so many children luckily have today. But that questioning was there, because that's a natural part of development, that the questioning is there. And because I had that previous Montessori experience, I guess in a way I was in touch with my inner teacher, so I could see those questions coming. And then, you know, watching people around me, my friends, my siblings, my you know people around me, watching them grow and seeing these wonderful, amazing, bright, curious young children who grew alongside me, who just had no interest or no capability to teach themselves, or no capability to, there's no drive. I remember seeing that as a teenager and thinking, that's not right. You know, and thinking, I need to train as a Montessori teacher, because we need to make sure that, you know, this history is not repeating itself over and over again. So I actually started my Montessori training when I was 17. I was the youngest one. I had to put I had to put in a special request for them to allow me to join the course, because I was really, really young. And at the time I was interviewed by Barbara Isaacs, who was in MCI at that time. And she heard my story and she said to me, she heard my story. She said to me, you know, she said to me, come on board this course, you know, we're going to let you come on board this course. And I was the youngest one there, but it was what I knew, this is what I needed to do. And that's how, you know, my journey continued in Montessori, even when I wasn't there. And that light bulb was, I really believe the light bulb comes on when you're a child in the Montessori environment. It comes on, and it's like, it changes something inside you. And that has really been a huge force of directing me to where I've come now, and what I've understood now, and all the work that I try to do. That experience, that first experience of realizing the difference between the harmonious development according to the natural human stages and the natural human rhythm, and then seeing the extreme between that and between this other system, which is not based on human. It's not based on how humans are, or how humans grow, or how humans develop, or how it's based on a system that's wanting to create something specific or guide something specific. And whereas in Montessori, you're going with that natural rhythm, and the end result is the individual is created. That individual, that unique individual and personality, so that really struck with me, and kind of gave me, when you're a teenager, you've got lots of energy, right? Lots of creative energy. So it really, like, I took that with full force,
Wow.
Yes.
Extraordinary. What an incredible story. That's amazing.
Thank you.
17 doing your MCI training, and Barbara Isaacs was academic director when I was at MCI as well 10 years ago, so she's coming on the series as well. She's going to be here on the podcast.
Wonderful.
Which is fab.
Wonderful. I wonder if she'll remember me.
I bet she will. She's got an amazing memory. She certainly will. She's also a Montessori granny now, so she's
yes
some of the grandchildren, so it's going to be amazing to have her perspective as well, and to have
wonderful
this breadth. Yeah, wow, what a story. Thank you. Okay, so question 3 is, in what ways does Montessori enrich the work that you do?
So I think, first of all, Montessori allowed me to discover who I am. And in order for you to do something effectively and beautifully, you really need to be in touch with who you are. And you need to be able to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, and what your whole package, so that you can be your authentic self. So Montessori has allowed me to understand myself and make the most of who I am, even with the flaws that I have, which I won't mention on here, but we all have our, we all have our weaknesses.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But it's that, Montessori helps you to bring out a strength inside you that's in you already. So, Montessori has allowed me to understand myself, and through understanding myself, it's given me that kind of vision of, well, what's my purpose and what can I do? And that's, really what started at that 17 age is, who am I and what can I do? And led me to the Montessori training. Through all of that, it's kind of really enlightened the path of getting to understand a human being. Let's say if I didn't have a Montessori education, I may have gone to child psychology, but Montessori, the beautiful thing about it is you don't just understand a human being, but you understand yourself, and you understand the context of humans within this cosmos. So it's really kind of enriched that, and allowed me in my work to really focus on what it is that I love, which is to see that potentiality in the human being, whether it's a child, or whether it's a lady who's working with me in school, or if it's a family, or whatever it is, me seeing that potentiality in the individual, and then facilitating by removing obstacles and creating an environment that allows people to grow. So allowing yourself to grow and allowing others around you to grow. And I think, that is on a huge level I mean, maybe people would imagine, we're talking about, Montessori materials or Montessori this or Montessori that, but actually on a bigger scale, that is what Montessori is doing to us. It's allowing us to discover our potentialities and the potentialities of those around us, and then creating that environment where everybody can flourish so that each person's uniqueness can shine. That's humanity,
So beautiful and so true, as you said earlier on, allowing the uniqueness of each child to come forth. We're not trying to put a square peg into a round hole. It's about everyone gets to give their gifts. And in the film Inside Montessori, one of the elementary guides says that. She says the beauty about elementary Montessori is that each child realizes that they have a gift to give that's unique, that nobody else has, and that's, that speaks to what you're saying. It's just, it's beautiful. So question 4. This is the middle sandwich of a few tricky questions in the middle. Okay, so question 4 is, what was the first time a child taught you something about yourself that you didn't know? And that's either through interacting with them or observing them.
So I think that when I first went into a Montessori classroom as an adult, and observed the Montessori classroom and I was lucky that I got to observe a really, really lovely classroom that was, beautiful classroom with a wonderful guide. Seeing how the children worked without the need of an adult, seeing how the children worked independently, seeing the amazing things that they can do, it really gave me that first, realization that I am not your teacher. I am not here to be your teacher, because you child are capable of so much. And it's not that I'm here to teach you and give you from my knowledge, but it's that you're here to teach me to grow and to show me this capability, this immense potentialities that's within you, and that we are on this journey together. There isn't that hierarchy. I'm the adult, you're the child. I'm giving, you're taking, there isn't that, In fact, this is a mutual journey where both are there's a learning coming from both and a growth in both. And I think that's the first thing, of really observing the classroom and seeing the children in action and realizing I'm powerless, I'm powerless. It's nothing to do with me. This is to do with them, and realizing in myself that I have to take that step back, that idea that is somehow programmed into us from a young age, that we're the adult and therefore we know, realizing that we have to clear that out from us.
Yes.
And then once we clear it out, we see the magic happen.
Yeah.
So I was lucky that the classroom that I observed, the adult was there. She had that realization. So the classroom run like that. And I could see it, and then it could touch me in my soul. Yeah. And then, so that was the first big thing. And of course, if you see that in a Montessori classroom and you go to a mainstream classroom, it's completely opposite, because the mainstream classroom is totally, the adult is in control. The adult is the one who's leading. The adult is the one who's active. The child their attention is to the adults. The child is doing what the adult has asked them. So it's very adult centered. Yeah. Whereas in the Montessori environment, it's the adult is not there. Yeah. So we can see who the child is.
The child's focus should be on themselves, not on listening to what the adult is saying. Yes. And they show us that they are truly capable of developing and creating themselves in the most beautiful ways possible. So that really struck me. Amazing. Yeah. there's that Dr. Montessori quote about when she talks about the spiritual preparation of the adult, and she says, we must tear out the roots of our prejudice. And that, I remember reading that in my training, and that really, really stuck with me. And as you say, whether it's a classroom setting as guides or in the home, that's what our children invite us to do every single day. This isn't a cardboard cutout solution we can provide for anything. Our child, the soul of the child is there in front of us, and we must answer the soul of the child. We can't just put these predetermined parameters of control or what have you on them. And there's nothing like a toddler actually than teaching us that humility of we can't control these little people, and when they're older, I'm sure it's the same. It's really so powerful.
So powerful. Lovely.
So question 5, when was the last time a child taught you something about yourself that you didn't know?
I think when I came to Malaysia as a foreigner, not knowing the language, not knowing the culture, not knowing the way things are. So I came to a very new environment, and I remember feeling nervous and worried about opening up my school and having these children who speak another language, and I look different and I sound different and my everything is different. And I remember those first few days, it was really evident to me that, you know, that boundless love that the child has, you know, that boundless love that the child has, where they don't discriminate. You know, by nature, they don't discriminate. They accept everybody. Yes. with your beautiful things and with your flaws, and they accept everything. And that time when I first opened my Montessori school, really experiencing that from the root, because it's a completely different culture, seeing these children just accept me how I am, and with that love. And then that journey of really observing these children, even till today, observing how they will accept anybody, you know, that boundless love that is in a child, that boundless love has really touched me and taught me that, you know, this is what it means to be human. And if we don't have that within us, and sadly, this, you know, we all see so much on the news and on social media today, we're bombarded, right, by this discrimination, this human discrimination on one way or another, you know, for some reason or another. But when you look at the child, they do not live like that, and they do not act like that, and they do not see like that. So, you know, experiencing them with every new person that comes to the environment, and every new face, and every, you know, person, culture, you know, whatever it means, you know, even children with disabilities, seeing how they just truly accept them wholeheartedly has really taught me that we need to change ourselves inside, so that we have that same boundless love, yes, that we can offer to everybody. Because when you look at the child, what you see is the true meaning of humanity. Yeah. That united humanity that Montessori talks about. You see that in the child. And if we see them and we look at ourselves, we can see what we need to change in ourselves, so that we can become a true human, as in that sense of that boundless love and acceptance for all.
Yeah. That's so lovely. That's so wonderful. And I guess as parents and guides, our question is, because, as you say, the child does have that boundless love and that expansiveness within them, how do we honor that? How do we revere that? What can we do as parents and as guides to make sure that light doesn't go out, or we don't dim it, we don't project on? And if we're not able to send them to a Montessori school throughout their childhood, what can we do in in the home to make sure that this isn't then, you know, when external influences, you said, in the world today, when external prejudices come in and affect the child, how can we support our child in the best way so that they don't, that side of them is honored and appreciated and nourished and nurtured and grown, rather than by dimmed by quite an unrelenting world at times.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting question that I keep reflecting on and asking myself. How can we keep that alive in the child, especially in this time that we're living in, where there's just so much noise in the background going on? That's, you know, how can we keep it alive? And there is one aspect of that, is that we give them a variety of experiences. There is one aspect that we give them a variety of experiences, that we make sure our curriculum, our you know, the stories you read to your children at home, everything, you know, you want to make sure there's that diversity in that's one aspect. But in a way, that's a very surface level aspect. And I've been reading more about Dr. Montessori's work, especially in her book Education and Peace. And she actually really emphasizes that if the child is able to develop according to nature, they will not come off that track. Because actually it's innate within the child. It's innate within the child to be like that. And they are like that. They only stop being like that when we take them off track. Yes. So it's not that we don't need to formally or directly teach them about love and about acceptance or about seeing different people. It's not about actually sitting the child down or formally doing that, but it's about allowing the child to develop according to the plan of nature, because when the child develops according to the plan of nature, they will be love. Yeah. They will be that example of love. That's how it is. And actually I've got the book in front of me, if you don't mind. There's like one section where Dr. Montessori says that there are two paths that lie open in the development of the personality, and one that leads to the man who loves, and one that leads to the man who possesses. So one who leads to the man who has won his independence and works harmoniously with others, and the other to the human slave who becomes a prisoner of his possessions as he tries to free himself, and who comes to hate his fellows. So the thing is like, what I see is, you know, this oppression that we see around us. Yes. You know, each person who oppresses, they've been oppressed. Yes. But when does oppression start? Yeah. The first oppression we experience is as a child, when we want to follow our natural path of development. We want to follow our natural inner drive, but we are prevented. That's an oppression. So we are oppressing the child. We create an imbalance in the harmony of their development. And when you create this imbalance, it leads to the kind of their personality developing in a way that doesn't have that full love, you know, doesn't have that full love and respect and you know, harmony with the universe around them. So actually, if we really come back to allowing the child, you know, to develop according to the plan of nature, so that they can become who they are and they're in harmony with their environment, that love will shine through. That love will be there, you know. And that's what I still need to do, a lot more reading and discovering, and there needs to be lots more conversations about that. But this is really what's standing out to me now, is that if we can allow that development to happen according to nature and how it should be, that's one huge step to saving the child from developing a personality that is not in harmony. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. It's a big conversation, as you said. It's a conversation to have again and again in different ways, as you said, as we do more reading and different things come to us and different experiences happen. It's huge, and it's a huge responsibility. And as you said, that oppression that starts when they're little, it's, as Dr. Montessori said, you know, the child is born innately good. We have to hold that in our minds and in our hearts all of the time, even if they're doing something which is undesirable or destructive or what have you, we have to hold the image in our minds of the child that is innately good. And the problem with that I see a lot with Western society is it's seen as that the child isn't good, so we need to discipline them to make them good. But that's all back to front, isn't it? It's
yes,
they're good, and all we can do is, and you know, discipline is about connection. It's not about control, and this is rewiring everything. And there's some amazing resources actually now, as there's this collective consciousness that's rising about it. There's more and more resources available to people on social media and online, so that's really beautiful. But it's so amazing to us as Montessorians to know that Dr. Montessori was talking about this long before anyone else was talking about collective consciousness, or
yes,
this is before these terms were terms that were understood or were fashionable or anything, you know. And it's really incredible that this richness is in her work from 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago. It was there. She was on it before any of us even knew what on it was. It's amazing, isn't it? Really extraordinary.
Yeah. Amazing. So amazing. That's why, you know, when they say Montessori is timeless, it truly is timeless. Because 100 years later, it's still still as relevant as it was then. So
even more relevant, I think, because
definitely more.
The challenges are bigger. There's more people on the planet. There's bigger challenges. There's more discord. There's more disharmony. There's more noise, as you said a few moments ago. There's more noise. It's more relevant. Okay, question 6. When was the last time a child caught you out of integrity and questioned you on it?
Okay, so I think that in my work, I work with the different ages. So I do have the children who are in the first plane. We have a 3 to 6 year old environment. We also have an elementary environment, and I have an adolescence community where I live. So I actually live in an adolescence community. And I think that what's been really interesting is seeing in each plane of development how the child will show you what you need to change about yourself. So in you know, in the 3 to 6 environment, if you come in with the wrong energy, or you are coming in out of integrity, you're immediately going to see that the way the child acts is different. You're going to see it in how they act, right? When you come to the elementary stage, if you do something that's out of integrity, they will just tell you as it is. They will just say, that is not fair, or that was not kind, or you know, you didn't respect me, you know, or whatever it is. They will just tell you. But when it comes to the adolescent stage, this is hugely interesting for me. So my latest experience is with my own son, because he is 17. He's in the adolescent stage. So adolescence is really sensitive to justice, to social justice, not just their justice to themselves or to their friends or to their family, but they're really interested in this global justice, and they're concerned about all humans. You know, it's a very deep, unified way that they are interested in justice. And what he's done is he has made me question my own ideas that I hold, again, on, you know, certain topics, or on certain, you know, about certain things, my own prejudice. He has held me accountable to that, to the fact, you know, is that fair? But not the fair that the elementary child asks us, but is that really fair for humanity? Is it really fair when you think of somebody like that, or when you talk of somebody like that, or when you, you know, dislike something like that? Is that truly honoring the human being? And what I found is with the adolescents, the way that, because they are searching so deep within themselves to discover who they are, especially those adolescents who have had a Montessori experience from birth, those children are already on their path, right? So those children especially, when you make a statement, or when you hold a belief about something that is not in harmony with the universe or in harmony with nature, they will hold you accountable and they will question you. And I am having this every day with my son right now at the age of 17, having to really dig deep in myself and who I am and what beliefs I hold, what values I hold, what morals I hold, and question myself and say, is that truly in harmony with the universe and with nature? And it's been a huge, be ready when you have teenagers. It's a huge journey, and you have to take the chance while they dig deep, and then they make you dig deep. Take that chance to go through that transformation yourself. And that's just really the recent experience that I've been having, where a child is really holding me out of, checking my integrity and making sure that I check myself and come back to being who I should be. The true, in true harmony, rather than, distracted by whatever it may be.
The best of who you want to be, the best of who you seek for yourself.
Yes.
Well, I'm not there with teenagers yet, but Olivia's 6.5, and just second plane for me in the past 6 months has really, she's given me a really good wake-up call in terms of integrity and calling me out on things and questioning injustice in the world. Why the construction workers have got the windows open, why don't they have any air conditioning in their bus, and we've got air conditioning in our car. These really big things she's asking already in the elementary stage, and it's powerful. We've got to have an answer to these things, because they're in there, they're ahead of us, and it's extraordinary. It's really, but it's so beautiful, as you say, is like Noah, a Montessori child from birth. They've got everything lined up, so they're not going to become part of the system. That's what's so beautiful, is that doing this path, and particularly because I work a lot with toddlers, people think that this is going to make parenting easy, and I'm like, no, it's actually going to make it harder, because you're growing people, you're not growing robots. This is a human who is going to question you and challenge you and ask you and push you and test you and all of those things. It's not about making a child better behaved at all. It's about, like, as you said, getting ready, preparing for what the child is going to show you about yourself. So powerful.
In a way it's harder, and in a way it's easier, because the harder is that they will question and they will explore, and they want to come to their own independent conclusions. They want to create their own, so they're not going to become that copy of who you want them to be. So that in one aspect it's harder if you are trying to do something to the child, right? But on another aspect, it's easier, but because they are so in touch with who they are less likely, and there's research that supports this, that shows that children who've had a Montessori education, they are less likely to go into drugs, they're less likely to go into, theft and things like that, because they are in touch with who they are. They're less Montessori children, especially in the teenage years, they are less likely to give in to peer pressure and do something that's wrong just because everybody's pushing them to do it. So that makes your life easier, because you have a solid person there who is not going to do something dangerous or something harmful to someone else or whatever it is, because they're in an environment that's pressurizing them, because they're their own. So that aspect makes it easy, because you don't, you see that. But then the harder part is that they are their individual. It's not going to be as straightforward as you say and they do or they accept or whatever. It's not going to be like that. They're going to reach their own conclusions. But I think in the end, the beautiful thing is, when you have your child, who do you want to actually meet? Do you want to meet the child that you molded and you formed? Or do you want to actually get to know your real child? Do you want to get to know that real individual that is in your child? And that's a question I always ask myself with Noah. Do I want Noah to become who I want him to be? Or do I really want to know who he is?
Yes.
And I think it's so, when you allow them the space to be themselves, you see something so beautiful that you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
So your imagination of who you want them to be, it's beyond that. But you need to first step out the way, give them that space, and then they'll be it and they'll become it.
Yes. Let go of the control, and they are so connected to themselves and to source that all they could be is who they are, because we're not controlling them and directing them. But as you say, that's a big leap, I think, for most of us to in different ways, in different scenarios, and I'm sure at different ages will be challenging in different ways. As you said, get ready for adolescence. It's incredible. Come back to the beginning. We learn with our child, or with the child.
Yeah.
It's not the we're up here and we're down and they're down there. It's not that at all. It's a shift.
Yeah.
Thank you. So question 7 was, how did you explain yourself when you're out of integrity? So I guess we'd love to know, if Noah questions you when he feels you've been out of integrity, what's that process of that conversation that you have together?
So now it would be, if there's something that, like he, I mean, I've got an example, but I don't know if it was a good one to share. But like, if there is something that I hold some belief or something, then he will be like, but first he'll say to me, where did that come from? Where did you get? How did you create that belief within yourself? It could be something small, as in, like frying food is unhealthy, So, it could be something small like that. You have this belief, or you hold this principle that eating lots of fried food is unhealthy. So actually, well, where did it come from? Where did you formulate your idea? And then what I've realized is that conversation then has to become one of exploring it together. Yes. So exploring, well, actually, first of all, I have to be ready to accept maybe I am wrong. Maybe it's not so bad to fry food. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's actually look at this together. And, you can do the research, Noah, and you can give me the information. And let's look at this together. And sometimes I have to accept that sometimes I might have to change my mindset. I might have to change what I have believed all of these years. He went through this stage.
That's the word. That's neon lights for me. Humility.
Wow. He went through this stage where he just fell in love with butter. I know it sounds really strange, but he fell in love with butter, and I was saying, no, you shouldn't eat too much butter. It's not good for your health.
I'm with Noah. I love butter. I eat a lot of butter. I'm totally with Noah on the butter thing.
And he was just like, there's people who say that butter's good for you. There's people who say, and he said to me, when you buy the butter, I want the best butter. And I will eat all of it. And he said, there's people who say that butter is actually really good for you. And did you know that, in the history of the world, people ate a lot more butter than they eat now, and, and going into that. So again, it's something that, maybe I've been programmed to believe, don't have too much butter. It's not good for you. But actually, maybe there's some truth. And there's diets now, there are diets now where you have more content of butter and oils in your diet, and it's supposed to be more healthy for you. So again, when he holds me accountable for some principle or moral or belief that I have, then the conversation has to go to that exploration, and I have to be ready to be able to voice my opinion in a way that's respectful to another adult, because these adolescents are new adults. So in a way that's respectful to them, but at the same time be ready that they might teach me something new. And if they teach me something new, I should be happy to take it on. So there's loads of other incidents, and butter is something small, oil is something small. These are small things that I'm talking about, but they do it on the small and the large scale, and we need to be ready. And actually, one really funny story, there was one time maybe about 6 months ago, and he said to me, you know what, I don't think I believe in the Montessori system. It was really interesting. Wow. Yes.
So your whole body was like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, what? I was like, no, what were you saying? And this is really funny, because that is a much larger scale of yes. Questioning us and our integrity and our, and he goes, and he listed his reasons for what he's saying, what he believes. He's listed his reasons. And then I told him why I really believe in it, but I had to be prepared to see maybe there is something more that he's showing us that I don't know. Anyway, in the conclusion, he said that every child should have a Montessori education, and every adult should learn about Montessori, because it helps them to get in touch with who they are and what the purpose of their life is. So in the end, I didn't have to give up.
Give up your whole life.
Yeah, and now he's come on board Montessori even stronger. So, again, we might have not had that beautiful outcome if I didn't allow him to hold me accountable.
Yeah.
And I didn't allow that conversation to happen.
Yeah. If your ego had got in the way and you said, how dare you be so disrespectful after everything I've done for you, that could have easily gone that way, couldn't it? With a different parent, a different scenario, it could have, and then close that conversation, finished, and then the child walks away, or the adult walks away with nothing, but resentment and more questions, but unanswered questions, and that's not a good place for an adolescent to be.
Exactly. And I think that at that time, where he read about different, of course he's experienced Montessori firsthand through, growing up and through me and so on. But then where he's gone beyond that and he's looked online, or he's, gone to see different things, and he started, the Montessori world does have a lot of division, and there is, this whole, in a way, there's this hierarchy, or there's this battle that's going on. And I think when he saw that through his own exploration, when he saw that, that's when he questioned, well, that's not humanity. That's not humanity then. So, it's like, and this is really truly the beauty of the adolescents, is they teach us so much. They even hold us accountable to how true we are to the Montessori method, or how true we are to this vision that Dr. Montessori had. They even hold us accountable to that. I mean, wow. It's a beautiful journey to see the adolescents. And I know that I talk about him a lot on my Instagram, and I try to share about him, because I know that there's so many parents out there right now that have young children that are wondering, are they doing the right thing? How is their child going to be? Does this journey look like? And I had all those questions when he was young. I had all those questions, and I couldn't find the answers, back in the days when he was young. So I think it's lovely if more and more of us who have these Montessori teenagers share, so that those of you that have younger children can know that it's okay, it's worth it, it's worth the journey, and it's okay. Your child will be more than fine if you continue in this journey.
Trust the child will show you the way.
It's
really
definitely
amazing. And I love everything that you share about Noah online. Particularly, there was a post you did on your feed about I think he was 9, and he had the long hair and a bobble hat, and he was putting feathers in his that one.
Yes.
Still in the UK, and that really resonated with Olivia and Harry, because I was doing some research prior to this conversation, and Harry's got long hair, long blonde hair. And so often people say, oh, you look like a girl, and people in Dubai are quite kind of direct and make comments about people's appearance, like, and it's not like a big thing, it's just like a Dubai thing, right? And so often every day someone will say, oh, girls should have long hair, not boys. And because I was watching that video of Noah, and Olivia's like, look, Harry, this little boy's got long hair, just like you. And Harry's hair is longer than Noah's in that video. So I was like, oh yeah, you know, another validation, as it were. And it's so beautiful to hear things like that. That really resonated with Olivia and Harry.
Yeah, we also had that, even in England, we also had that so much. People coming to us saying to us, you know, why has he got long hair? You know, he's a boy, he should have short hair. Everyone, you know, loads of people confusing him for a girl as well. So we had lots of that when he was younger, especially at that time in the video, because, you know, there some elements he does look like a girl. You know? So, you know, but, you know, he knew who he was, because he was a Montessori child. He knew who he was, and, you know, that. And this is another beautiful thing, is they don't judge themselves or who they are or their worth or their capabilities based on what people think of them.
Yeah.
The Montessori child is in touch with themselves. They know who they are, even if you can't see it.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, that video is really cute, because it you know, it reminds me of, you know, what his life was like. And yes, you know, yes, he went to a Montessori school, and yes, he had the Montessori materials, and yes, he was in the Montessori environment, but actually what stands out the most for me now, looking back at his childhood, and for him, the memories that stand out the most are those real life experiences that he has had, especially the ones in nature. Those are the ones that stood out the most to him. And those are the ones that have empowered him to become who he is today. And, you know, some people, when they saw those clips, they said, oh, you know, I want to go to England, I want to take my children to the park. I'm like, no, it's not about going to England. You know, there's parks in Malaysia too. There's a desert in Dubai. Wherever you are, just go to nature. And for us, going to the park was a daily part of our life. And the way that I made it daily is, instead of driving to school, or instead of driving to school, we cycled to school. So we could cycle, which means, and I would plan the route through the park. So every day he got to have this real life experience in nature. And it wasn't like okay, you know, we're going to have a special day today, we're going to go out to the park. It was part of his life. And I think that we really need to look at our lives and look at how can we make nature part of our everyday life. You know, and if you know, we're in Malaysia, we're in a lockdown right now, so yes, you can't go out, and yes, you can't go to the parks, and the parks are closed, and they're probably going to be closed for a few months, but it's not limited to the park. You know, bring in plants in your home. You know, make a little balcony, or if you don't have a balcony, make a little, you know, window plants, and bring nature inside. You can observe the roots growing from an onion. You can observe, you know, whatever it may be. You can collect seeds from your fruits. You can have little creepy crawlies. You know, my house was full of creepy crawlies when he was younger. So you can bring these creepy crawlies, let them bring them inside, and just let the child live with nature. Don't make it like, all right, now we're having a lesson on the plant. No, let it be the plant is part of life. You know,
looking after them, caring for them, seeing when they need water, all of those. So important, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the challenges I have here in Dubai, is because we've got a perfectly manicured city, is saying to people, it just 10 minutes outside every day is all you need. It doesn't need to be like going to all of these amazing parks or museums or Green Planet, all the amazing resources we have here. But, you know, we go to the beach 3-4 times a week, just like with you. It's just because we're living in Dubai and it's 10 minutes down the road, not to do anything but to collect shells and sit in the water. It's not like it's just how we're living, because I know how important it is for them to have contact with nature every single day. And yeah, it needs to be less structured and more just free. Just
exactly.
The child is leading and learning whatever they want to. It's funny you said about creepy crawlies. For us, it's crabs. It's half a crab and, you know, just the body or a couple of crab claws, you know, from the beach. Those are our collections and shells that we get that we get several times a week. But yeah, it's
and I also believe that they need to see us fall in love with nature. So like for those of us who are not in touch with nature, you know, buy yourself a plant and fall in love with that plant.
Yeah.
And let the child see you, you know, pay attention to that plant and, you know, talk to your plant, you know, water your plant with care, with love, let them see that connection.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to see to put them in touch with nature, especially if you're not somebody who's into animals or into plants. But, you know, my house is full of cats. So from when he was younger, so we've always had these little other beings around us that require love and attention. And you know, it gives a beautiful experience for those children, and there is learning in that. You know, people might think, you know, having a cat is not a learning experience, but it is such a learning experience. So give that natural daily time to be with nature. Let it be part of life, not like a scheduled time. Like it's part of your life is to be in touch with nature, because nature is going to teach your children so much that you could never ever, you know, give to them in another way.
Yeah. So beautiful. So
I hope we haven't gone off track with your questions. I'm so sorry.
We have, but it doesn't matter. It's all wonderful. So yeah, I can't even remember which question I asked actually, but it doesn't matter. So question 8 is, what is your favorite Dr. Montessori quote of today?
Okay. Today. I think that
it's just one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got loads of favorite quotes, but maybe let me just read the one that I just read earlier, because it was really interesting when I read this one, because actually on the same page, she says, it has been said that man's greatest delight is to possess things. And then she says, no, man's greatest delight is to use them, using them to perfect himself and at the same time to improve his environment. And then later on, she says that this great revelation we owe to the child. 2 paths lie open in the development of personality, one that leads to the man who loves and one that leads to the man who possesses. One leads to the man who has won his independence and works harmoniously with others, and the other to the human slave who becomes the prisoner of his possessions as he tries to free himself and who comes to hate his fellows. So it's not that it's my favorite quote, but it's a quote that when I read it just recently, I was like, oh, you know, like she's making it so clear to us that, you know, every child has that path that is going to lead them to be in harmony with their environment and to be full of love and to reach their full potential. And we need to just get out the way is the first thing. Get out the way, remove the obstacles, and prepare the environment to aid, to help that to happen. We're not making it happen. We're not guiding them to happen, to make it happen. No, we are letting it happen naturally. We're just aiding by removing the obstacles, preparing the environment.
Yeah, to create a more peaceful and harmonious world. And that is the aim, isn't it?
Yes.
Amazing. So question 9, what is your deepest desire for Montessori in the future?
I would love to see that truly that vision that Dr. Montessori has becomes accessible to all children or adults. You know, in Malaysia, what really struck me when I first came here is that whole commercialization of Montessori. In England, of course, we have loads of, you know, commercialized Montessori schools, but it's really hard to run a school in England anyway. So it's not an easy thing. And a lot of people who run Montessori schools or preschools, they're not they're not making profit from it, but it's a passion it's a labor of love for a lot of people in England, because it's a very difficult thing to achieve in England. But in Malaysia, what I've seen is it becomes very commercial, and people are doing this for money, and I think and we're seeing it in so many places. But what I would really love is that Montessori education is accessible to all children at all levels of society, with all capabilities, especially those children who are special needs and who need it so much, especially to those children, that the knowledge that Montessori has is shared with parents. I don't think there's been enough work to help parents to understand their children. This knowledge has been around for more than 100 years, but there's so many parents who still have no clue. And I feel like there hasn't been enough work of just letting community on a wider scale understand the human being, understand the child, understand themselves, understand the gift that Montessori brings to the life of people. And that's why I really love when I see people who start to work with parents, Montessori guides like yourself, who start to work with parents, who start to support. It's really, really beautiful to see that, because, it's not just about implementing Montessori in a school. And I own a school. So, but it's not just that. It's not just that. If we really want to have that impact, it's about Montessori being accessible for all, and that knowledge being accessible for all. And I really hope that over the coming years, there can be more of that collaboration between all of these amazing, wonderful Montessorians who've got such depth of knowledge about human development that can share and discuss. I hope that one day we can reach a place where there is that mutual respect and understanding and collaboration, so that we can serve the child the way that they should be served. All children, especially those who are coming from poverty, or those, the millions of refugee children that we have in the world, and those ones who have special needs, especially those children as well. I really hope that Montessori can become accessible to them.
That's a beautiful, beautiful vision. It's affecting massive social change, and I think I know it's possible. And I know it's possible because just looking at social media and the power social media has, I know for good and for bad, but the voice and the recognition and the depth and breadth of Montessori, you can see it increasing because of the likes of Instagram or Facebook or what have you. And obviously everything has its shadow side, but I really feel in the work that I do with parents, I've just been able to reach so many more people and then refer other people. Like I sent your post you've been doing about the recommended reading for different age groups. I've sent that to so many people. That's reaching, even if it's just 10 more parents in Dubai. They wouldn't have had that information if you hadn't been on Instagram and me be able to share it more widely. Those videos have had tons and tons of views of you've done of those recommended reading books. So it's huge, and I think it's coming. I know it's coming. It is massive social change, and we can do it. I know we can.
And that's what the child needs, and that's what they deserve. And hopefully, if we can do that, and on a wider scale, people can begin to understand the human development and the child, then hopefully this is going to bring that shift that we need for the future. And that's what Dr. Montessori was what she was trying to achieve, right? That's what she was trying to achieve. So we need to also be the agents in that work. And hopefully hopefully we can make a change. Hopefully
we can. And that's the vision of this podcast, to have every single Montessorian is from a completely different environment, setting, community perspective. And that's what the vision is, to show you it's not just for the white European model Montessori, it's for everyone in every home. It's a homeschooling and adolescent, it's an Islamic Montessori magazine, and then we have Trisha Moquino from the Keres, Native American people coming on as well. We have, you know, Barbara Isaacs, we have Jeanne-Marie Paynel, we have, I've forgotten everyone else coming on as well, but I'm just trying to show different people, different Montessorians doing different things in different ways, so people can see it's not just for the stereotypical pretty pictures on Instagram. There's a lot more breadth and depth to it that, as you said, can be offered to every child. That richness can be offered to every child.
Yes.
And should be offered to every child, no matter what circumstance they're growing up in. And that's our work, isn't it?
Yes, that's definitely our work. And hopefully we live to see the change that takes place.
And so the final question of the Montessori Mission with Nusaibah from Rumi Montessori is, what do you see is your role in achieving that deepest desire that you have for Montessori?
So for now, where I am in Malaysia, I'm trying to do the work that I can in Malaysia to at least make an impact here. So, you know, it's been a beautiful journey. I've been here it's coming up to 5 years. In a few weeks, it will be 5 years. So it's been really beautiful to see the shift of parents who are now beginning to understand their children. And I think that, you know, in Malaysia, you know, my focus is to just try and get that knowledge, that beautiful wisdom and knowledge that Montessori had out there, but in a really approachable way, and a way that's accessible for all. You know, the Montessori philosophy and theory and the understanding of the human being, it doesn't cost anything. You know, it doesn't cost anything. Why do we have to lock it up behind some, you know, why? You know, like, of course, I really love that there are these amazing courses available, and I really recommend people who can to join courses, and there are amazing books to read, but at the same time, this knowledge can also be shared amongst people. So I'm trying to do my best with that. And, you know, also on Instagram and the social media platforms, you know, there is a much wider reach that we have. And I find that working together with other Montessorians and other like-minded people, and that collaboration, especially like what you're doing now, you know, where you're getting these amazing speakers to come on board and everyone to share, I think this is really what we need to be doing. And this, you know, I hope that I can be of service to this, and so that this knowledge of Montessori is accessible for people and is given in a way that is easy to understand and accept, you know, they can do so people can transform themselves. And in the end, it's not about the adult who's going to hear this and is going to make a change in their house. It's not about the you know, the course that we run and then the parent who this is. It's not. In the end, everything is about the child who's going to be on the receiving end. And for me, the hugest sense of, you know, happiness comes knowing that there is a child somewhere in a home. You know, like when I recently shared about the 0 to 3 books. So I've got my books around me, so I don't carry them especially, but anyway, so like I shared about the 0 to 3 books, and I love this book because of the simplicity, the depth, but the simplicity as well. And I love to think that there are children who now in their home, wherever they may be in the world, their parent has read this book and taken on something, even if it's something small, and that child somewhere in an unknown place is now being able to be themselves. They're having that experience where they can be themselves and develop according to nature. And I hope that if, you know, through the sharing that I do, and, you know, I hope that we can bring about more and more of those experiences for the children, so that it's a global change that takes place. You know, I hope that I will have, you know, I get sick a lot, as you know, because we had to cancel this session quite a few times. So I hope that with whatever energy that I have left, I hope that we can, you know, work collaboratively, you know, everybody work for the child, because that's what Montessori is about. It's about working for the child.
On the child, yeah. And as you said, we get out the way and we just focus on the child and the child's needs and where they are. And well, she said, follow the child. So it's quite simple. She gave us some really good, very simple instructions, didn't she?
Yeah. When you actually read, when you actually read, it's like when you actually read what Dr. Montessori is saying, it's actually really straightforward and simple. You know, but it's because we've come away from it. That's why we find it difficult, that we have to start to reprogram our minds and reprogram our language and reprogram our thought process and reprogram everything. But actually, once you do that reprogramming, it becomes your nature, because that is your nature. That is our nature as human beings. We just come back to our nature, and you become a better version of yourself. Who doesn't want to become a better version of yourself? Not only do you help the child, but you're helping yourself.
Yeah. And when we help ourselves, then it's a ripple effect in our families and our communities and the wider, as you say, every time we come back to our true self, to our true nature, to our connection to source, or whatever, however it resonates most to us according to our belief system, it's a positive benefit to a more peaceful and harmonious world. And that's the gift that we can give our children, but we give ourselves, because it has this huge impact.
It's the gift that they were born with, and we have to try and make sure that they're not robbed of that gift that they are already born with.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah, we have to make sure they're not robbed of it. I feel like we're going to need to have a further conversation, but that's 10 questions finished for today. Whilst we have you here, thank you so much for those answers. They were so thought-provoking and so had so much depth and richness to them, and I really, really appreciate your time today. And is there anything that you'd like to share about what you're doing at Rumi at the moment, what support you're offering parents, what projects you're doing in Malaysia itself? What would you like to share that you feel our audience would really like to know about?
Well, most of my sharing is on Instagram. I don't really have time to put things on my website and everything. People have probably noticed that I don't really update there, but Instagram is really straightforward to so most is there. So you can check out what we're doing there. We run our school, and our school it's an affordable Montessori school. It's not a business, but it's a charity and service for the child. So a lot of people do get in contact because they want to do Montessori as well, and they don't want to be caught in this whole commercial thing. So that's what we do. And then I do offer courses for parents. I have a few short courses online. You can see them in my Instagram profile. I have a few courses online, and we're working on other courses. And as you mentioned in the beginning of when you introduced me, is that part of my work is the Islamic part of Montessori. So that is part of the work that I'm working to develop, because I know that for parents who are Muslim, there will be certain things that they want to understand within the context. With Montessori, they want to understand it within the context of their beliefs. So that's part of the work that I'm doing, is to show that actually it's the same thing. Actually, there's nothing hugely different. And I've got a visitor who's so you can see, if you're interested in that work, you can check out, I have another Instagram, which is Islamic Montessori. You can check out that one as well. But really, you know, if you're in Malaysia, if you want to, you know, we worked really hard in 2020 to get all of Montessori's books in Malaysia. So I've got like loads of Montessori's books and other books. So we worked really hard to get all these titles in so that they're accessible for people, so people can start reading. And I think that, if you are listening to this and if you feel inspired and you feel like you want to learn more, you know, start with developing that understanding of what the Montessori philosophy and theory is all about. Start with that first, because when you understand what it is and you begin to develop that understanding of the purpose of Montessori and, you know, the natural development of the human child, you'll realize that actually it's not that you need to do so much outward work, as in it's not that you need to go out and buy all these things and, you know, get all these materials. It's not that at all, but it's about the inward work that you need to do. And that inward work it doesn't cost you anything, but it is so powerful and it will impact your life, your children, everything. It will impact everything. So you can check out my Instagram if you're interested in anything, but you know, there are so many amazing resources out there. There are so many amazing people like yourself, you know, that are sharing amazing things for parents. So, you know, it's an exciting time because there's so many ways that you can go deeper and get to know more about this. So I'm actually excited to listen to all these podcasts that you're putting out there. So I've today I was listening to your first one. I'm really excited about that. So, you know, if you're listening and you want to know more, there's so much that you can learn just online, going to reliable resources and just hearing and getting that depth of the Montessori theory and philosophy, because that's what's going to truly help you to understand about the child and what you need to start working on within yourself so that you can aid their development.
So true. And the great thing is once we start reading and doing research, what we need to work on becomes really, really apparent very quickly, doesn't it? Because we'll read something that triggers us, or we'll have like an ego reaction to our 2-year-old, and we're like, oh, okay, that's what the work is. That's me sorted for the next 6 months. I know what I need to work on. It's so the child always just shows us the way. I mean, just tells us always what we need to know. And as you said, there's no cost to us. We don't need to spend any money on this, but at the same time, it's the greatest investment we'll make.
Yes, definitely.
It is everything. It will change our lives. It can get the trajectory of our child's life back on track if they have lost contact with their inner self, with their sense of source, and will help them stay on that path of their true nature, as you said, and their soul and their essence. And that's what we really want to do, so that there's, as you said right at the beginning, there's so much noise and there's so much going on, and and I would imagine for Noah as a teenager, I mean, I guess it's different because of lockdown in the past year, but there's so much noise for teenagers to hear. You know, on the dark side of social media, for example, there's so many influences and things that are impactful to an adolescent's, you know, very tender and open heart and sensitive brain and sensitivity that can really impact them in a way that isn't good. So it's us always being the best person to guide them, or not even really lead them, is it? It's guide them when they need that guidance. When they lose touch with themselves, we help them get back in contact with themselves, in touch with themselves, rather than telling them what to do. We want to always give them that gift back of knowing who they truly are. Yes. Beautiful.
Thank you
so much for everything.
Thank you
so generously. It's been so amazing. And
thank you so much.
It's been really, really wonderful. I've taken up so much of your time, almost 2 hours.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry I went on and on.
3, so no. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining us for the Montessori Mission. 10 Montessorians, 10 questions, 10 perspectives in 10 communities. And thank you so much. And I really hope that when the world stops being so crazy, I can come to Malaysia and visit you.
I would love that. Yes, I would love that.
So wonderful. I've only spent a tiny bit of time in Malaysia, and that was before I was even a Montessorian. So I'd love to come back to Malaysia and
lovely.
see
Yes,
the lens of Rumi Montessori. That would be wonderful. Thank you so
that
much for
lovely.
joining me today. And
thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, audience, all of our and Rumi_Montessori on Instagram if you'd like more information. And you can find this on IGTV, YouTube, Anchor for podcasts, and there'll be much more coming everyone's way as well. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. See you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.